These pictures were taken with a Lumix G7, an inexpensive, lightweight micro four thirds camera that came out in 2015 and has more features than you could ever imagine. Well, I have to make a video about this camera. This is one of my favorite cameras. I know I say all my cameras are favorite ones, but this, I've had this since the beginning. This came out. I actually bought this camera originally because it looked cool. I saw it in a display case. I said, that's a cool looking camera. It's this really cool silver grayish color, and the shape of it is really cool, and the color is cool, so I bought it because it looked cool. It wasn't until after I actually had it in my hands and I started using it that I realized what a cool camera this is. It came out in 2015. The first thing I noticed about it was how lightweight this thing is. It looks like a heavy camera. It's really lightweight. That's the biggest thing I love about this thing, is how lightweight this is. It comes with this lens. It's a 14-42. I never use it, but I wanted to show you. It comes with this zoom lens. It's a micro four thirds interchangeable lens camera. You can change the lenses on it. Not only is it cool looking, but it is just this joy to work with for so many reasons. It came out a little after the GH4, so it has pretty much all the GH4 features, but it's less expensive. It feels really good in your hand. It looks kind of bigger, but it's actually a pretty small camera body. This camera was so far ahead of its time when it came out. I mean, remember, this is 2015 to have a screen like that. It has all these dials on it. It has a mic jack. It has clean 4K HDMI. It's only 410 grams. The only thing lighter than this that's new is a G100. I actually like the way the G7 feels in my hand. The G100 does have stabilization, which the G7 doesn't. I don't know why people make such a big deal about stabilization. I never need it. For picture taking, I don't need it. And for videos, I always have the camera on a stand. Like here, it's just on a stand. I don't need stabilization for that. And if you do want to use stabilization, it's not even a big deal anymore nowadays. Here I am walking with the G7. It's shaky because it doesn't have stabilization. All you gotta do is put it in Premiere and use warp stabilization. Look at this. Look how smooth this is here. This is the G7. Look at how smooth this is. Or you can use a gimbal or something. It's not a big deal to get stable footage anymore nowadays. Plus, stabilization just adds extra weight to the camera. So that's another thing I like about this being so light. It has a really, really nice viewfinder on it. So it's basically a GH4. It's got the same viewfinder, the same screen, less expensive than a GH4. It looks better than a GH4. It has Cine-like V and Cine-like D profiles from the GH4, and you can dial it down even more if you want. It has this thing called highlight shadow, where if you click on it, you can actually change the curve. You turn the front dial to change the highlights and the back dial to change the shadows by up to 5 stops. So you can have these custom curves when you're taking pictures. That is so cool. I wish Sony had that. I know Olympus has something like this, but that is cool for a camera like this to have. This is only a $500 camera. This is not an expensive camera. It has eye dynamics, so you can bring up the information in your shadows, shading compensation, diffraction compensation, face recognition, flicker decrease, wind noise canceller, focus peaking even in movie mode. It has eye sensor autofocus, face tracking. It can sense a face. It has HDR, which takes 3 pictures and puts them together, so you have really nice high dynamic range. It shoots 4K 30 at 100 megabits per second. The 4K crops less than the GH4, and you'll love this. You don't have to take off the quick release plate to take out the battery and the SD card. The touch screen on the back is so awesome. You can touch, drag, swipe, pinch. You can change the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO. You can even pull focus while you're filming on the touch screen and take the picture. You can also touch the spot you want to automatically adjust the brightness of the spot touched. It shoots up to 1/6000th of a second, so you can shoot f1.4 in bright sunlight and get nice blurry dark backgrounds. And it has a hot shoe, so if you're using a flash, the fastest flash speed is 1/160th. So it cannot do high-speed sync, but I don't really use high-speed sync anyway because you get double the power from your flash by not using high-speed sync. I'm going to show you some really amazing pictures I took with this thing in a minute. It has dials all over. It has a dial in the front here. It has a dial in the back. It has 11 custom function buttons with 14 pages of options. God, there's so many options and features on this thing. All kinds of photo styles, filter settings. It's a 16 megapixel sensor, and when taking the pictures, I suggest setting the aspect ratio at 4:3 to get the full 16 megapixels. If you have it at 16:9, you're only going to get 12 megapixels. So if you're taking pictures, always have it at 4.3. Plus, you have more room to crop if, moving it around. Look at the cool dial dials on this thing. They're all shiny and silver. I know that's not important to some people, but I love the way this thing looks. It just makes me feel good to hold this thing, to play with this thing. Is so much fun. I love it so much, I bought 2 of them. I love these things. They're just so much fun to have. I mean, I wanted to get one before they stopped making them, so I got 2 of them. Some people might compare them to Olympus cameras. Oh my God, even this little one here, this EM10, this is like an anvil. This thing is 3 times the weight of this thing. This thing weighs nothing. This little tiny oh my, I know it's got stabilization and all that, but this thing is heavy. I don't like heavy cameras. This one here is even worse. This is a EM1. This thing is so heavy. This thing it has a nice grip on it. It's lightweight. It has so many, the flip out screen. The G100 is smaller, lighter, has most of the same features, has better stabilization, but I still like using the G7 more than the G100. It just feels like the right size and everything. And of course, there's the little GM5. This has actually the same features pretty much as the G7 and is really tiny. But this is more of a tourist camera for when you're traveling and stuff like that. But if you're doing a professional photo shoot and you want a really good viewfinder, obviously this is the one to go with. This is the most all-around best use camera, I would say, for pretty much anything that's micro four thirds. It has a bigger body so you can run video all day long without it overheating. It's actually a pretty small camera, but it's just the right size. Since I have 2 of these cameras, why don't I film myself? Here, I'll just switch this one out with this one. I got a Sigma 56 on there and it looks amazing. Here's a close-up shot with an Olympus 75. This is a G7 filming a G7. This is with a Lumix 100 to 300 lens. Look at this. Shooting a G7 with a G7. And this is the 14 to 42 kit lens that it comes with. You know, people talk about Panasonic Lumix cameras having focus breathing, focus searching problems. Is it searching right now? Is it going in and out? Do you see anything going? Is it doing it? Any focus breathing issues going on here? Other than me acting like a fool? I don't think so. I think it looks pretty good to me. What do you think? I mean, it might happen a little bit, but that little bit that it does, it really doesn't bother me. I couldn't care less about it. This is 4K. I'm filming in 4K, but I never film in 4K. I just wanted to show you what it's like to film in 4K. I always shoot 1080. And like I said, this 1080 on the G7, it's actually the 4,500 pixels down sampled to 1080, so you get really good quality video on this. All right, so let's actually go and do some photo shoots with this thing. Let me show you really what this thing can do. You know what? Let's take this camera to Palm Springs and spend the weekend in Palm Springs with the Lumix G7. Ready? Here we go. Pretty amazing, huh? This came out in 2015. It's only $500. This thing is amazing. It did not go down in value since it came out because people know what the value of this thing is. You can still buy them new. It's just an amazing camera. I love it, and I'm still filming with it over here on this one right here. This is 4K filming, G7. Hope you like this video because I love this camera. You know, I don't make these videos to try to convince you to go out and buy anything. I just want to show you what I love, what I use, and why. And that you don't have to use new cameras. You know, go out and buy the latest, most expensive bells and whistles thing. You can make great videos and take great pictures with things that came out a decade ago. So, all right, I hope you got inspired by this. I love this camera. Did I say that already? I think I did. I will see you in the next video. Have a good week. See you there.